Good afternoon. I love when people pronounce my last name. It's Suskavcevic, and just so you all know, I'm Irish. My parents, when they emigrated, they decided they're going to shorten our last name, so they took the O and the apostrophe off. So I'm really Croatian. But I'm happy to be here this afternoon, and I want to talk about leadership and taking a stand. And what does it mean, and what are the components of leadership? When you ask a parent, is your child going to starve? A parent would say, absolutely not. And I wonder, how do you know? What is it? Can you predict the future? Did you look at the almanac for the next 30, 40, 50 years? There's not going to be a famine? No, my child is not going to starve because I said so. I said something, it came out of my mouth, and I put the future in motion. Actions that I will take to protect my child are such only because I said so and I did it. I can't predict the future. What comes out of our mouth creates the future for everything we do. And we have to be sensitive to the severity, the weight of our words as we go forward. It's an inherent leadership quality that distinguishes when you look at people around the world that are remarkable. What are those qualities of leadership? So I want to break down these ideas into three components. Number one is integrity. When I speak, I have to speak with integrity. And let's not confuse it with morality. This is not about right or wrong. This has no religious connotation to it. Integrity, simply put, is I'm going to do what I say, and if I can't, I'm going to clean it up. And where we individually fail, and society for that matter, is the cleanup part of it. We say things happen, and then we all of a sudden, circumstances beyond my control took over, I don't have to do it, it's not that big of a deal. We justify it, we become reasonable with our thoughts, and we never clean things up. Take a simple example of somebody, hey, that's a great book I just read, can I borrow it? I'll read it and I'll give it back to you. And you do, you borrow the book, and 3 weeks go by, and you see the person you borrowed it from, and you don't give them back the book, but you see the person, and you're thinking about the book. Okay? And all of a sudden, that little thing, and you let it go, you justify in your head, this notion of, it's just a book, he read it, he doesn't need it again, what's the big deal? And all of a sudden, you have this pink elephant in the middle of the room every time you see this person that sucks the energy out of anything else that you could do and what's possible because you're focused, you didn't complete that issue, and you had a breakdown in your integrity. That's a big one. The second idea is accountability. You have to be accountable to yourself and to your peers around you. Now, society has a huge problem, in my view, on accountability, and it could be summarized in 3 simple words. New Year's resolutions. An absolute breakdown. It's fodder for comedians because we're not accountable to ourselves. Now, we could talk about it, the goals are too small, they're too high, they're not. Other things happen, life happens. So I have to move on. But it's a complete breakdown in our accountability. My first class in grad school, our professor sat us down, and there was 60 of us in the room. And he said, look around, folks. The smartest of you, I mean the smartest of you, are only going to remember maybe 2% of what we teach you. Your success in life is going to be a function of the quality of the relationship you have to the person sitting next to you and in this room and around you. And at the time, I didn't get it. I thought this was just a networking kind of ideal. But it really gets, for me to have a quality relationship with somebody, I have to have integrity. That's what I'll ultimately be known for. We're going to have an opportunity at the end of this program to network with one another. Don't dismiss the weight and the importance of the intellectual capital sitting in this room tonight. Because if you're all familiar with 6 degrees of separation, we all have a connection to Kevin Bacon. Every single one of us. Think about it. So that accountability is critical for us to build relationships and be leaders, because it's how it distinguishes us. The third idea is taking a stand. And taking a stand means that I believe in something and I'm going to follow it through. Now, this is not blind faith, mind you. This is not a rigid type of approach to a belief and unwavering. This is the opportunity to be at risk, be vulnerable, because I believe in something and I'm going to be able to challenge my status quo and step outside of my comfort zone. Because as a default behavior, as individuals, we have a passionate defense of our comfort zone. Why? I'm comfortable. I don't want to learn anything new. Because the flip side of that is our ability to learn and challenge ourselves and be accountable for what we're going to do. So it's important really that we, as taking a stand, know that we have to get out of our comfort zones in the process. And is there fear involved? Absolutely. So what is really fear? Historically, it's part of our fight or flight technique, the response, but it's a physical sensation. Let it run through you and get on with getting out of your comfort zone. Because if you're not able to step out and take a stand for something, you will never be able to go after possibilities that exist out there. Things that you think are impossible had to at one time been possible. And if you want to distinguish yourself as a leader, you have to be able to do that, because I haven't met anybody who we would consider a leader who spent their whole time in their comfort zone. So it's integrity, accountability, and taking a stand. Now when you think about, and this weekend is apropos for leadership. Tomorrow we celebrate Martin Luther King. What did he do? He took a stand for something. He didn't talk about what he doesn't like in the world. He talked about what he wants. And that's what distinguished him. He was very accountable to himself and to everything around, and he spoke with integrity. He left a mark in this world that goes on well beyond his life, and that is true leadership. Was he the smartest guy in the room? Did he invent something incredible? No. He took a stand. And that's what distinguishes us. When you examine possibility and taking a stand and leadership within that on an individual level, for all students that are looking at the job market, as an employer, I could line up all the resumes and all skill sets are pretty much equal. But when you sit face to face with somebody and you have a conversation, what distinguishes you from the herd? It's a quality, it's examples of integrity, of leadership, and accountability. A son of a dear friend of mine, brilliant, PhD student, went for an interview for a consulting company. Just worked with Nobel laureates, the resume is unbelievable. Didn't get a job because he wasn't able to articulate a quality leadership example. What he told me. So it doesn't matter how good your pedigree is and everything, you have to be able to distinguish yourself, and it's not through deeds and actions and all the kind of things that are on your resume. On the corporate side of things, the same thing applies. Good corporations, the ones that you want to be, that you're loyal to as a customer, that you want to support their brand, are those that are accountable for what they do and they have a high degree of integrity in customer service and customer loyalty. Because every organization, and working for a trade association, you want to build a tribe around people. And you do that by being consistent about what you say, what you're going to do, how you're going to do it. And that makes the difference for everybody. So I want to invite you all to consider what comes out of your mouth. I will bet that every single one of us in this room has something we need to clean up with somebody. And I would invite you to clean that up by the end of this weekend. Because it will open up possibility and energy. You will pop that pink elephant in the middle of the room and experience what's possible. And we don't know what we don't know. So our body of knowledge that we have is probably one small percentage of what's out there. And by doing those and cleaning up our issues, we can go after what's possible and making a difference. So you consider wanting to do some small things. Return the book you borrowed. Or take on cancer. Step out of your comfort zones and consider doing it. Because when you take a stand for something, it makes all the difference in the world. I can tell you one thing. My kids are not going to starve. Thank you very much.